What's up guys, Jay here, and today we have part 2 of my coverage of the leaks, teasers, and information regarding the upcoming Season 4 of DeepRockGalactic. A few weeks ago I went over the first batch of leaks that Ghost Ship Games released to hype people up for the upcoming season. I went over each of the teasers individually and tried to break them down as best I could and theorize what exactly they are telling us is coming. There were some very interesting things I found out, and if you have not seen that video yet, make sure to check it out, because not only are there some cool things hidden in those teasers, but a lot of what we will be talking about today are expansions of those ideas. That's because now we have even more teasers and information to break down, including the official title and release date for the season, so make sure you stay tuned. Like with the last video, keep in mind that these are just my thoughts and opinions, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say, so be sure to let me know down in the comments what you guys think. So if you guys are ready, let's go through this new set of teasers and see what we can dig up. By the way, if you want to see more gaming videos, subscribe to the channel, that way it's easier to find my content.
Time to earn your paycheck, team. Got a doozy of a swarm underway.
The first teaser is actually very easy to talk about because it's not even a video. It's an image showing us a full body shot of the new Glyphid Stingtail enemy. If you remember in the last video, the final teaser we covered showed us a glimpse of what appeared to be a new enemy type with the terrifying ability to grab you like a cave leech. Well, this image essentially confirms our fears and gives us a name and face to this new creature, the Glyphid Stingtail. There isn't a whole lot we can gather about this new enemy on the surface, however, we may be able to learn a little bit by studying the information that we do have. First, let's think about the context of the name itself. Glyphid Stingtail. When we first saw this creature, we saw it extend its tail to grab a player, but the name Stingtail implies, to me at least, that this thing does more than just grab. Perhaps while it grabs you, it also applies some kind of debuff or damaging effect as well. It's possible that the name may just be a fancy title, but I wouldn't rule out the idea entirely. Secondly, the Stingtail looks very unique compared to the other bug types in the game. I'm sure everyone's eyes are immediately drawn to the tail, which has something similar to a cave leech attached to it. However, there is something else about the bug that has me interested. First, this bug seems to have some kind of red armor or shell covering it that looks very unique compared to the other types of shelled creatures in the game. I suppose you could chalk this up to the dev team just putting more work into the designs of their enemies, which is possible, but I do think it's interesting that this thing does look so unique compared to the other enemies that we have so far. The next thing that intrigues me is the more plot implications that this bug brings to the table. What exactly is this thing? Where did it come from? Why haven't we seen it before? What made them show themselves now? All of these questions are in my brain and will hopefully be answered once Season 4 drops. Either way, whatever this thing is exactly, and wherever it came from, it will definitely be a good addition to the enemy roster and will most certainly scare me to death when fighting it.
Skittering horde inbound, team. Swarmers. Lots of them.
The second teaser we have to cover is back to another video and gives us both a lot and not a lot at the same time, and let me explain what I mean. The teaser is quite short and gives us several quick cutting camera angles showing us what appears to be another new enemy that we have not seen until now. These enemies appear to be rather small and have a red glow to them similar to that of the Stingtail. We don't get any footage of them doing anything major other than walking around, but we do get some interesting information regarding their status. If you look during each of the shots, you can actually see alien egg nests that you need to break into during egg hunt missions. This tells us that these enemies are not linked to any kind of specific mission, and they are just simply another new enemy type added to the game, just like the Stingtail. Now, there is a possibility that they are instead linked to a specific mutator, but we can't say for sure if that is the case. There is one thing that stood out to me at least, and I may be grasping at straws here, but it looks like some kind of green infection is covering the egg nests. In the first and second shots, we can see the egg nests as I mentioned before, but it looks like there's some kind of green growths or spores on the outside of them as well. Now, this could very well be just the details of the map overlapping into the nests, but I thought it was odd that it was happening multiple times in each shot. Perhaps they may be rockpox infected eggs that we have to extract. Let me know in the comments if you guys think I might be onto something, or if I'm just crazy and just digging too deep about things.
The mission is ready. The pod is prepped. Get on board the drop pod.
The third teaser leak is another short video and gives us some interesting gameplay footage. We see two players saluting each other, as they should, before one of them walks backwards and jumps off a cliff, in which we see a bar appear on the left-hand side of the screen as he slowly descends to the ground safe and sound. We then see his friend do the same thing, giving us a glimpse at what exactly is happening. So first, I am going to say what I initially thought this meant, even though knowing what I do now, I don't think it's the case, and I'll explain what I mean in a moment. At first, I thought this may be some kind of update to the Hover Boots perk. For a long time, people have been saying that the perk system needs a bit of an overhaul, and the hover boots especially are notoriously disliked among the community because it doesn't really do a whole lot practically speaking. I thought that this was gonna finally be an update to make the perk more usable, but as you will soon see, this is not the case. In any event, this new hover boot but not really system is most likely linked to some kind of mission objective or special modifier. It's hard to say exactly what we will need these special boots for, but whatever it is will obviously require us to be more mobile than we already are.
Something big is heading your way. Better prepare for the worst.
The next teaser we have to look at today is another still image of surprisingly a lot of information expanding on what we've already learned. Now this image was actually released at 2 different points. The first time it was shown, it had a lot of extra information covered up, and during Ghost Ship Games' stream on Wednesday, they actually released a much more detailed version showing extra information including the official release date and title for the season. There's a ton to look at here, so let's go through it piece by piece, and we're going to start with the first version of the image that we saw. So first, let's talk about the overall scenery of the composition. We see various different lithophage spikes around the map as well as lithophage infection areas, which tells us that lithophage and rockpox are most definitely still going to be a factor in Season 4. Whether or not it will be a large-scale aspect of the season remains to be seen, but we can know for sure that we will still need to bust out the cleansing equipment for certain missions. Now that we've got that covered, the next thing that stands out is that we see more dynamic images of the new bugs. We see the stingtail looking menacing in the background, and the new smaller glowing bugs actually shooting some kind of acid projectile. This tells us that these little guys actually have range to them, so you may need to be careful when fighting them. Also, something that may be overlooked by focusing too much on the 2 new enemies is the fact that the player in the background seems to be fighting what looks like a rockpox-infested Mactera enemy.
No! God, please, no!
This is actually big because currently there are only 2 types of rockpox-infected enemies in the game, the Grunt and the Praetorian. Okay, 3 technically if you count the larva. So the addition of not only a new rockpox enemy, but one that flies is definitely going to make some interesting swarm encounters. The next thing that this image shows us is a kind of crate or terminal with a boot symbol above it, which I think actually answers a few questions for us. First, it tells us that the hovering the players were doing in the last teaser was because they picked up whatever buff or equipment was provided by this terminal. It wasn't because of a buff to the hover boots, sadly, and it is most likely linked to a certain mission objective. Also, the terminal is most likely what we saw in the last teaser breakdown video when we saw the one player standing in front of some kind of crate. This has to be the same crate that we see here and tells us that this mechanic is linked with something in the season, whether it be a new mission or a new activity or maybe even a new machine event. Now that we have covered most of the material in this image, it's time to talk about the new, more detailed version that was released, and boy do we have a lot to talk about. First, we finally get both the definitive title and release date for this season. The season is titled Critical Corruption and is set to release on June 15th for PC players and June 22nd for console players. This is already pretty huge news because now we have an actual time frame to look forward to. But now it's time to address the large, tendrilled elephant in the room that is the massive monstrosity that we see on the right-hand side of the screen. There are a lot of things to notice when looking at this creature, so let's dive right in. First, we can see some lithophage growths on the right-hand side of the creature telling us that whatever this thing is, it is infected with rockpox. This is further reinforced by the fact that we see 2 players using the lithophage cleansing equipment directly on the creature. It seems that now we have to use the cleansing equipment in an offensive way to actually fight something, instead of simply using it on the terrain. Which leads me to the next thing to consider, which is what exactly this massive creature is. At first glance, it doesn't look quite like anything we have seen in the game so far. It's hard to say if it's a creature like one of the bugs, or if it may be some kind of plant-like organism. With just this image to go off of, I have 2 theories in mind, and both are terrifying. One is that this is an infected brood nexus, the other being that this is an infected tyrant weed. If you look on the left side, you can see what looks like a mouth which leans into this thing being more of an organic creature. However, one thing I noticed when looking closely is that the icon in the middle of the title text looks very similar to that of the tyrant weed's core, so there may actually be something here. Both of these theories could be completely wrong, and it could be a completely new type of enemy entirely. But either way, this tells me more than anything else that we are finally getting a new giant boss-like enemy to fight, which I have been wanting for a very, very long time.
That's one for the books. Retrieving escape pod.
The last thing we have to talk about today is the Cosmetic DLC pack that is going to be released alongside the season that Ghost Ship Games just released earlier today if you're watching this video when it comes out. Each season, along with bringing new features, gear, enemies, and other things, also comes with a new cosmetic DLC pack that you can purchase to give your arsenal some more flair. The new pack coming this season is the Decontaminator pack, and personally I think it looks really cool. It's obviously sticking with the theme of biohazard equipment with a mix of teal and yellow colors. Let me know what you guys think about the design in the comments, because I personally know I'm definitely interested.
Dreadnought's wiped out for now. Good work, team.
So now that we have covered all of this information, let's talk about what we know both now and compared to what we learned before. I have a lot of new ideas regarding what this season will bring with this new information. First, I'm still convinced that we will be getting some kind of new rockpox-like area, knowing that the lithophage is spreading throughout Hutchinson, and arguably worse than it has before. What could be possible is this new rockpox biome is where we will need to use these new jet boots that may protect us from the lithophage infection, but that's just a theory. Second, I am very excited about the new types of enemies that we will be encountering. The Stingtail and new tiny spitters still have a lot of tricks that they can surprise us with, and I'm excited to see what fighting them is like. Not to mention the new Rockpox Mactera enemy that is most likely coming as well. And we can't ignore the massive infected monstrosity that we will have to go up against, whatever it may be. My bet is still on the Rockpox Tyrant Weed theory, but you guys let me know what you think it is. Finally, I'm interested in the overall premise and context of the season itself. The name Critical Corruption implies to me that something incredibly bad is happening on Hutchinson, and that the lithophage is spreading so badly that it is getting out of hand. I know that Ghost Ship Games is going to be releasing more teasers between now and the release of the season, so I'll keep you guys updated as best as I can. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. Please be sure to give it a like because it tells me which types of videos you guys want to see. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next Friday for another video.